The following is a live presentation of Retro Sports Network, home of the champions of the past, present, and or future. Well, my name is Ron Juckett. Welcome to the show. I don't normally do live chats. I certainly don't do live solo chats, but it's been a week. And I figured, what the heck? It's been a while since we had a conversation. I'm not even really sure the last time I did a state of the channel chat, but why not? Let's do this. Let's do this for a while. So let's spend some time together on a Saturday night. I don't see anyone watching, and there certainly isn't any comments yet. So it's been a while, and I wanted to explain to you why I haven't been on. Really, I am fine. The brain may be a little bit scrambled at times, but I am fine. We've had a couple of issues of, let's just say, personal stuff. Oh, Arnold, I am fine. How about you? Tribe fan, how are you? Good evening to yourself. And so, it pretty much by the time that we were done with all that, it wiped me out for the week. One of the lovely things about being disabled is you need attendant care. And we've been dealing with some attendant care issues and who's going to pay for it and all that. And so by the time that we got done dealing with that, I was exhausted and really didn't want to entertain people because that's what we do really on this channel is entertain people. And then was it Thursday? Gardner and I were chatting and I was rather grumpy and I decided probably it was not a good idea to go live when you're feeling grumpy. And last night I taped an episode of the Retro Sports Spectacular. Beautiful. Dice United Soccer. I'm going to have to redub it because some idiot forgot to include his microphone for the hour that I recorded. And so I uploaded a video with absolutely, positively no sound whatsoever. Yeah, great. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And so I was going to redub it earlier this morning, but no, I was dealing with something else and then something else. So why don't you guys have at it? What would you like to ask me? I'll answer any reasonable question. But yes, I am well. I am tired. It's sticky. It's raining here, as a matter of fact. And again, I haven't done this forever. In fact, I don't even really have a StreamYard account anymore. That's why you're stuck with the StreamYard logo. Pops Reviews, how are you? And I hope you are doing well. Pops Reviews? No, I would not think so. A silent game for your Indians replay could be a trendsetter. I would be surprised if that would actually be the case. Tim, you're probably not old enough to remember the silent game back in 1980 between the Jets and the Dolphins, where they didn't have any announcers. It was just the PA announcer. It was a dog of one of those late season specials. And so they tried it. And I remember watching it. It was quite cool. That's a good game. I really enjoyed it. And there should be, I believe, another patch coming out today, as a matter of fact. But congratulations on that. I took the it says he saw the silent game for the NFL, the highlights. It was freaky, and it obviously was something that didn't go over very well because I never did it again. How long does a game of replay basketball take to play for you? I'm not putting it on this computer, as a matter of fact. I got this computer back in February. 45 to an hour. It's a good game. 45 to an hour, I would say. Game certainly needs more seasons, although 85, 86, which is my pony season, is there. But I love the blue dye in that game. The blue dye just gives the game enough of a dramatic thing to make it really entertaining. What was I saying? The silent game. Arnold did some. Oh, so the Dice United. I took unless this gets released in the next batch of seasons for Dice United, that I took the English Premier League champion, the Liga champion Barcelona, PSG from the French league, and Bayern Munich, and I did just played them off. It's a relatively good stream, however, no sound. So fire those questions in there and all that, and we'll do our best to answer. So yeah, your silent treatment really doesn't work, especially on YouTube. So next week live on Twitch, we will be 5 days of baseball, all day ball next week, because I was amiss this week, and then the week after I'm on vacation. Helps if I hit the right button. Yeah, things are better on my end today. Gardner's out shopping, which is why we're not able to do the episode of Digital Dice tonight, but it's okay. We're all going to be okay. But it's been a long week. And again, the fun of adulting and all that sometimes just takes its toll. So yeah, thanks for the well wishes. And Mr. Tower is going to be a guest on a future episode of Digital Dice. I think we can talk about that. So next week, during the day, 5 games or 5 live streams of baseball. I think one of those is a doubleheader for Labor Day. So we are moving into September, and then I'm on vacation. My wife's birthday is coming up, 4th of July. Woohoo! It's a round one for her this year, and so no streaming for me that week. What would you like to see me actually, do at night to get some streams ready for when I'm gone? All right, Steve says, would you rather listen to a silent NFL game or one with Bradshaw and Jimmy Johnson both doing color commentary with no play-by-play announcer? I remember that. That was a Charger game. I'd rather it be silent. So as far as your card and dice quarters are about an hour long. Wow. So are you doing this on the computer or just playing them out by hand? There's a lot of dice rolls with replay basketball. And I can't imagine trying to play that one on the tabletop. But you just never know. So yeah, I would go with the silent treatment with that. So what would you? I could record a couple things to go while I'm gone for the week. It's a staycation. So you're playing them by hand. What season are you playing? I think the ones from the 60s take longer because you're shooting foul shots on every foul that's not offensive. It is a good game. And I think actually the drama in that game probably is enhanced because you are rolling it out by hand as opposed with a computer. Although there are a lot of good graphic mods for the computer. Was it Tribe Fan? You weren't the one playing. I think it was Todd B that had a good couple replays going in that project-wise. So yeah, recommend both basketball and baseball are good games. I know Bernie Strom is having a good time doing his 1950 replay for the Red Sox using a PC, the computer version of baseball replay. So what else would you like to know? So what should I be taping for when I'm on vacation so you actually have something to watch? And of course, when I come back from vacation, should be right around our 4th anniversary show for Digital Dice, which I find hard to believe we've been going that long, but it's true. So year number 5 starts when I come back, and then episode 200 sometime. I think we get about 8 or 9 shows before we get there, but it will be sooner than later. All right, just the volume 2 great teams for exhibition to get used to the game. I don't remember which ones are there, but it should be very exciting. What is your favorite basketball team? I really, really, really enjoy Strat Basketball on the computer. I would say, because it's not Digital Dice, that it probably is right up there my 2 or 3 top favorite games to play. One of the things that cards and dice can do that you don't necessarily have on a computer is you just building it in your own mind. We talked about this on the show a few weeks ago, and so I can envision what I want to on the court. could be, on a playground court or something like that. Doesn't matter. And so it just does a good job of my head of visualizing the play. Arnold says full play basketball and football games on the table. Most games are about 90 minutes. Yes. What football game are you playing that's about 90 minutes? It takes me about 2 hours to play Strat. The Bulls with MJ, and they have my 84 Celtics. Gosh, I'm assuming it's 95, 96. I've been playing some 89, 90 in Strat with the Bulls, and they aren't quite there yet. But you know what's coming. I think that's MJ's best card. And I have found, also playing a couple of the Detroit Pistons games, Pistons fan at all, why they were so successful at the end of the decade. They really, truly have no weaknesses outside the fact that they're very physical. You got Joe Dumars, who I think is highly, highly underrated even to this day. Isaiah Thomas, who can set up a play. His dazzle numbers are pretty good and can shoot. They got Mark Aguirre as a scorer, and Lambert, who can shoot from the outside and three-pointers. I think he was the first center really to even try three-pointers. So I can now begrudgingly appreciate what that team did. And the Bulls aren't quite there in 89, 90, but I believe I took advantage of some sales in Strat and grabbed the first 3 championship teams with them. It's just so much fun. I was right on the edge of, I was out of college and I wasn't with my wife yet. And so really was the last point where sports were still just kind of fun. So, but yeah, so good for that. Enjoy it. The 84 Celtics. Emil Carr is still there. I believe it's the good team with Cedric Maxwell. You got McHale still coming in off the bench. And so you got 4 you can rotate in the forward spots. You can play Parrish as a power forward if you want, I think. And it's just so solid. I mean, those teams, the Celtics and Lakers in the 80s, they started 10 Hall of Famers. Yeah, begrudgingly Pistons. Yeah, I hear you for that. That is... Again, Dumars was underrated. Vinnie Johnson, as far as I know, was underrated. Rodman, before he started dyeing his hair, was one of the best defensive players of all time. Don't get me started on Lambert. Andrew, helps if I hit the right button. You recommended a game during the sale last year. I gave it a try. I like it a lot, especially with the card image on the screen. You good? Yes. And if you also, Buckshot Kid, how are you? I'll put this back up there. Also, if you play with the detailed shot grid there, it really holds your hand as to what you should be trying with those cards. Doesn't mean it's going to be successful all the time or not, but it's there. And I just, it just makes it worthwhile. We could probably do a whole show on this if we haven't already. The game just works. I've also done some modern stuff with it and liked it. I think I know that every game has its weaknesses and all that, but yes, you get a good idea of the strength and the weaknesses of that. Yeah, those Pistons were great. I'll give you that. I don't really want to admit that, but I believe if I can forgive the 86 Mets, I can forgive the Pistons. Rodman could score early on in his career. I think they were much better with Aguirre than they were with Dantley. That was the trade they got in what? It was the year they lost to the Lakers is when they got him, right? That was the year that Bird made the steal in the conference final, or was that the year they had Dantley? But you knew they were something special. And I think Chuck Daly, for as successful as they were, never got the credit for what he did with that team. They played hard. And Pat Riley with the Knicks just stole that. It took it up a notch or 4. So who would have thought I'd be doing a basketball chat? So yeah, I'll begrudgingly give you the Pistons as a very good team. The 89-90 Celtics, They're an older team. They are certainly not as good as they were in the mid 80s, but I would put them on the same level as the Bulls. I don't think they could win a championship. I think Detroit is the best team. Portland isn't too bad either. They were not a fluke. But that Celtics team can wear you down. And Reggie Lewis and Strat anyway can play the two guard and the small forward. And so they're a deep team, and they have Ed Pickney and Joe Klein who can take a lot of fouls. Problem is that DJ isn't shooting much at that point of his career, and he's not passing as much in that part of his career. But they're still good. They're better than the Knicks. They're better than Philadelphia. I'm not sure they're better than Chicago, although I did a Boston-Chicago game and the Celtics won. But no one as good as the Pistons in the East that particular year. What else what would you like to see while I'm on vacation? They picked up Aguirre in early '89, so it was Dantley for that series. They knew they needed to get away from the ball disappearing with Dantley. Aguirre helped them spread the court. This is picked up in Strat. What teams have you guys played that you didn't necessarily like growing up or whatever, but drew an appreciation for as you get older? I think Dave has talked about it with the Canadiens. I always appreciated those Duke teams, although I don't play a lot of college on the tabletop. I knew they were good as a North Carolina fan. The Yankees, especially those late 50s teams. 56, 56, of course, that was the year that Mickey Mantle hit for the Triple Crown. Hard to believe that, in my opinion, I think Yogi Berra is underrated. He's better known for, if you get to the side, if you get to the fork in the road, take it. But I think he's just really good. Yeah, Andrew from New Hampshire says clearly for you, the Yankees. Is there era that you enjoy playing for them? When I started doing Retro Sports Network and the replays, of course you would do the Yankee games. I mean, you're never going to find an era where the Yankees are bad. It did 78. I was surprised when they lost the ALCS in my replay. The Rangers beat Ron Guidry in Game 5. You don't do that. Not everyone does. And I think it comes down to, you never want to be mad. You never want to be. The 70s Yankees you can do. That was a toughie to do. I mean, the 78 team was good for the era, but probably not great all time. What happened for me for the 97 Marlins, I think we're a fluke. The 2016 Cubs, who were not a fluke, and the 95 Braves, I kind of like, with the mid-'80s Mets and the late '80s A's. I cannot believe that for as long as the Braves were that good, that they only ended up with one World Series win. I know they got squeezed in 97 in the Marlins, but they had their chances and just couldn't do it. I mean, they lost to the Yankees in 99, and that was it. I would have thought that they would have taken more than one. Wow. Yeah, I hear you with that. That Cubs Indians World Series was I think, one of the best of all time. And sadly, my dad died 2 days later. So it's not one I like to remember an awful lot. But I hear you on that. I still don't understand why Bobby Cox didn't go with Keith Glavine to close that out in 95. So yeah, the 70s Yankees. That 78 team is fun. Guidry can pitch. That 76 Yankee team is probably a little underappreciated because they got swept by the Reds. So what other teams? I mean, there must be football teams that you hate playing just because they were your rivals. Although in pro football, never really hated that much of a team to not like them. In fact, as a Giants fan, I find that replaying the Giants is very frustrating for me because, well, Phil Simms, for starters, they can run the crap out of the football. But in games where carries are kind of limited, such as 2nd and 10, they don't necessarily replay all that well. And because they didn't throw that much, the receivers don't have a lot of catches. I haven't really tried replaying them that much in Strat. And I never begrudge the 49ers for their 2 Super Bowl wins over the Bengals because they were that good. I honestly think that you probably could get over the hump with some of those 80s Browns teams. 86 and 87, I'm sure. 89, I think Denver was clearly better. But Elway at his best was there. You weren't going to beat him. There were a lot of well, I live in New England. They used to train Andrew at St. Michael's College, which is just up the road from me, in the early 60s. And because the NFL was on CBS, that was the TV station that if you didn't have cable, that you got until 1993. So the Giants were on an awful lot, and the Patriots were a mediocre team on WCAX Channel 3. And so even when the couple of years that 3 did the Fox games, you got the Giants games. It's only when the Patriots got good and Channel 3 started showing the Patriots an awful lot when CBS got football back, I think, did the momentum start to switch. Win 18 gazillion Super Bowls in 5 years, and you'll do that. But yes, there were a lot of Giants fans. A lot of Giants fans in the Boston area because, again, before the merger, the NFL games showed the Giants into there. In fact, the Patriots, when they started, often played on Friday nights or Saturday nights, so their games didn't collide against the Giants on television. So, but I think that ship has sailed. The Giants are no longer the dominant team here in New England just because the Patriots have played so well for so long. Good luck trying to get the Giants to beat those Patriots in the Super Bowl either time on the tabletop. What else would you guys like to know? We're here for a while. But yeah. Those 80 Yankee teams, you can see where they fell short. I'd forgotten, by the way, because it was popping up in my Facebook feed that A's didn't get Ricky Henderson back until 1989. Where Ricky nearly got into the World Series in 85. Remember, the Blue Jays won it on the last week or the last weekend of the season. But they just, the Yankees were trying for speed. They always were a pitcher short. And that ballpark wasn't made for speed. That ballpark was made for power. So what else would you guys like to know? Let's see. As far as I don't really have anyone at hockey I dislike enough that doing a season or seeing them pop up in a replay would bother me. Is there a season you guys ever played just because you wanted to learn about a team? That's how I started learning about the Islanders. How you doing, VL? Nice to have you along on a Saturday night. Am I liking Dice United? Yes, I do like it. It's not as how do I want to say this? Because I don't want this to come out as wrong. I think Stone Cold Hockey you can play without knowing hockey. I do think you got to know soccer a little bit to really enjoy Dice United. Any plans of playing bank shot basketball? Needs to have some sort of helper for it before I can do that. I am trying to get Dave into playing it. I like the concept, and of course, Joe's such a good guy. Game you play a football game just of the AFL. Do I a game you play a football game just of the AFL? I've done some AFL. Was doing 1960 a long time ago. Oh, can I play a game of just the AFL? Is there a particular season? I, of course, have them all for second and 10, and I've 63 and 68 for Strat. Been a while since I've streamed any Strat, but I got to change the graphic settings on my computer to do that because of reasons, because of a driver issue. Why just the AFL? I don't think the AFL ever gets the love that other um, rebel or minor or not minor rebel or secondary leagues get. You know, there's a lot of people who play WHA seasons. I know Dave has featured a few games of that. ABA doesn't get a heck of a lot of love. I mean, they're the ones that introduced the 3-point shot, and eventually you couldn't foul out. But the AFL, I mean, there was a lot of good football. I learned a lot when Al did his AHL stream from 66, 67. Didn't realize Andre Lacroix owns a rink about 30 minutes from you and was a coach of a high school in the Cleveland area. Oh, I didn't realize that either. 66, 67. Remember, there are only 6 NHL teams. So the AHL is pretty much NHL quality players. What do I prefer for football? Second and 10? Second and 10 and Strat are my go-to games for football. However, we've talked about this, Dave and I, offline about what would I do a football project this fall, because I haven't really done one the last couple of years. And I'm leaning towards doing one in fast drive football, doing a couple of those on a Tuesday or Thursday, just because it doesn't take forever to play and you get the results. Al Wilson has created a very, very solid football game. And Mark Miller or Jerry Quan adding the touchdowns for receivers and wide receiver and running backs just gives that a much more playable, streamable thing, because you can say, oh, yeah, so and so had the touchdown instead of just the score. So the first season, okay. Any particular reason why you're looking for something from 1960? I have that in Action PC, and I had that in second and 10. Andre Lacroix is best known. Al probably talked about this, for being the color announcer for the Hartford Whalers on the radio for their home games with Chuck Hayden. Which, as a kid, when the Red Sox season began and Hartford was in their inevitable first round playoff loss, where I lived at the time, you only got the games at night listening to WTIC for the Red Sox. And so when they were interrupted for the Whalers, I didn't like that very much. I wanted to listen to baseball. I really only do baseball teams, VL123 says. I'm deep in my OOTP league, but I've tried them all. Latest buy was a disappointment. Couldn't figure out Dombrov baseball. I looked at that, really couldn't make heads or tails out of it. Doesn't mean it's a bad game. I just own so many baseball games that Mr. Wrestling too, Brent, good guy, got me doing the perfect team, which I know VL doesn't really like. But instead because I got playing it, I created my own fictional league and love that. I'm about 60 games into my first season. That's great. Just play those out, which is why I haven't done much of anything else on the stream for baseball, because I'm sucked into doing that. By the way, if you do anything historical with OOTP, I highly recommend on Steam the historical ballparks and historical pictures. Great stuff. Yeah, you're not a fan of Perfect Team. I do okay in it. I didn't really want to do the drafts anymore. But my team itself kind of fights for a playoff spot every year or every week. And I kind of just go slow with that. I'm enjoying it. But my pack reps recently haven't been all that great. So any new improvements to the team usually are because I buy it with the points. But again, it is a game it is something you can do that you don't need to do anything for besides or pay for outside of the initial purchase. And I was gifted the code for the game. So I've spent no money on it whatsoever and really, really have enjoyed parts of that. Don't get me started on OOTP as a replay engine. It really is a same mix. Okay. You want the 60 AFL game because there's no CFL game. There used to be. Oh yeah, those stadiums are great. Other creators, yeah. Maybe later on we can have him on, but we're always looking for good guests, and email us at digitaldice@yahoo.com. We've talked with a couple other people about coming on. Those are fantastic. And the graphics have gotten really good with OOTP. Yep. So yeah, if he's watching, just give him the link, and it's digitaldice@yahoo.com. The word TO. So yeah, there was a good CFL game for DOS. If you go over to Sports Replays, I think there is a Windows game for the CFL. I remember playing some of the Alouettes game. It's because that's pinball. That's absolute pinball. We try our best, Andrew, to have a good balance of just the two of us talking, because we both really enjoy that. And yes, so we've had a lot of cool ones on. They always bring a lot to the show. We learn a lot. If you were to ask me what I know, what's the biggest thing I've learned over the first 4 years of the show, is just how close and how mom and pop the community is. I know this weekend is the APA convention down in Georgia. And when we had John Herson on a few weeks ago, I mean, just one of the things that he and Tebow talked about over and over again was the strong sense of community that APA has. And so, we've had on Joe Bryant. We've had on Dave Cook. We need to get someone on from Strat. But yeah, just the strong sense of community that people have, and the fact that people enjoy, having their games talked about. And I mean, Mark Cohen and Carrie Batts. And the convention. Oh, how you doing, Dave? The convention does look fun. We tried really hard, and it really is harder now to come up with something new every week. The rule of thumb is, if we talked about it before, we don't really touch it for 2 years. And even when we do take on a topic that we haven't done or touched a little bit before, we try to find a different angle for it. Well, there's always, I think, endless topics, because you guys will find something, and we beta tested a bunch of stuff. So we know more about certain things. And I read a lot of the message boards, Delphi, Strat fans. So it's always interesting to see what comes up as issues for people, whether it's usage or this game or that game. Yeah, Mr. Hetrick was incredible. Absolutely incredible. And so was Dave. And Dave doesn't do a lot of that stuff, so that was great. Get Hal Richmond. He went to Bucknell's, everyone knows. Oh, and you grow up where Bucknell is in Lewisburg. I would love Hal or Adam. Adam, I think, now runs the company on a day-to-day basis. Lori Strat would be pretty awesome. Glenn Guzzo would be someone I'd love to have on. Maybe even the softball king who just had a birthday, Barkin. I mean, that really was the first card and dice game I played outside of championship baseball, which I bought at KB Toys in 1983 with my own money. Phil Singer Games Convention coming up July 20th through 23rd. This year's convention will be at the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame in Waterloo, Iowa. And ABBA will not be singing the pregame show. Yeah, that would be awesome. Um, we also like talking with people who've done longer projects as well. I mean, we've had on Kevin Burkhardt, and of course, Kurt Berglund's been on. And Kurt, of course, dabbles in some game design. So it's not always game designers. Strat Baseball, Card and Dice was your first. That was my, yeah, outside of championship, like I said, championship baseball in 1983. That was there. But my first kind of real sim game was Micro League. And had it on a 5.25-inch floppy for my Apple IIe back in the mid 80s. And the game would freeze if you hit and run too much. I had a copy of Pro League, which was the last version of Micro League. And they had all the stadiums and the animation and the 90 some odd seasons. And I can never find the rip for that. If I can get the rip in the abandonware, it's always just those couple seasons. But that was so cool to be able to go through. Right around the time I think that Miller came out with Baseball Wizard for Baseball for Windows, just to be able to have all those seasons. Somehow I scratched the CD. Remember when we thought CDs were going to be scratchless? Yeah, me too. Of course, Dave and Al are big fans of Filsinger games. Wrestling games I never really got into. Really didn't watch a lot of wrestling growing up. And that Dave, I think you're not the only one for that. He played Micro League faithfully until the floppy disk of the file stats crashed on me. Yep, I had that disk as well. Created my own teams. Got into a fight with my best friend on rating Jim Kern from 1979. We've had someone on from OOTP. We've done a couple things. We've had their marketing director on, and we had on one of the creators of Franchise Hockey Manager. You go back and listen to those shows. Am I still doing racing? I was once really involved in NASCAR 2003 and Grand Prix Legends. I wish that could run. Some I really can't drive the cars all that well. And I really don't want to ruin anyone else's race. I can run iRacing on here, and I just did the Indy 500. I love motorsport, and that's a game that I should put back on my table sometime, as someone else famously says all the time. Would floppy disks be something you don't hear on a Fortnite stream? It's the save icon for that, okay? And it's not even a floppy, it's a 3.5-inch. But yes. And I didn't have a computer that had them, but I was amazed a few years ago when I saw the 8-inch floppy disk. Those are huge. If you haven't played Motorsports from Owzad and Lamborn, incredible game. And as long as you know where a racer started and where a racer finished, you can recreate any race in history. We've done the last two Indy 500s, and I'm tinkering with doing some Formula One. The 1950 season, the first one of the Formula One World Championship, was only 6 races. Technically, it was 7. They used Indianapolis as a points race, but none of the people who ran in Europe went over to run Indy. So although it counted in the standings, it didn't matter because the Indy drivers didn't go over to run any of the Grand Prix that first year, and none of the people who were in Europe had the money or the resources to go drive in Indianapolis. So thought about that. There's some good Formula One seasons where the championship was decided by 5 points or less. Max Verstappen is making sure that you don't have that problem this year. He's going to win rather easily. But you sometimes you have that. And who would have thought that Lewis Hamilton would have won more races overall than Michael Schumacher? I find that stunning. What else did I play as a kid? There was on the computer in high school. We had a football game that was Legends of Boxing. Aha! I just moved all the pictures over to do some Legends of Boxing. Got a couple things set up in Time Travel Tennis. I love both of those games. Gary is a hell of a game designer for Legends of Boxing, along with Dice United and Stone Cold Hockey. And Time Travel Tennis is a very good game. Yeah, I like Legends of Boxing on the computer. I wish I would love to take the Legends of Boxing engine and have all the boxers that come with the original title bout for the PC and be able to do a universe there. Yeah, surprise. Gee, Sarge, I didn't realize I was going to be on either. I love endurance racing. I missed Le Mans this year. But I love the multi-class racing. Daytona is fun to watch. Petit Le Mans, I believe at Road Atlanta, is there. Yeah, really getting into that Spa. I love Spa. And of course, they can't race on some of these tracks anymore because of safety issues, but Nürburgring, Old Spa, when it was 8 miles, Monza with the oval. Yeah, love all that. But yeah, to have my own title bout universe with Legends of Boxing would be quite cool just to have them. We'll figure it out. Okay. Well, thanks for watching. That's a random one. Yeah, they run the yeah, they do Nürburgring. 11 miles or something like that, 24 hours. Again, not a very television friendly race course, but yeah. The other one I like of off the beaten track games is Lon Whitehead's horse racing game, which I'm now drawing let me go Top of the Stretch is also a good game. I also have the Excel version of Radar Race for that, but that doesn't necessarily stream all that well. We just passed the 50th anniversary of Secretariat's Triple Crown, who still holds the record for the 1.5 miles on dirt for the last 50 years. And when he broke the record, he broke it by 2 3/5 seconds. I saw, by the way, I know that they're going to be doing some renovations to the Belmont racetrack, that Saratoga could be hosting the Belmont in 2025. That would be awesome if Saratoga did that. I think that the Breeders' Cup needs to come to Saratoga. I know they don't normally run in November up here, but that would be incredible. I would actually see what I could do to go to that. So, what else you guys want to know? Oh, I missed this one. I think we all created our games back in the day. Baseball, wrestling. I got a basketball game I created. Hello, friends. Welcome to the 18th Tower here at Augusta National. Jim Nance, along with Sir Nick Faldo. Trevor Elmerman has gone on a long walkabout and won't be back for a while. And yes, hello, friends. The football game that I was talking about before, back in mid 80s, was the 80 Steelers and the 80 Oilers. So it's Kenny Stabler. There he was quarterback, and very elementary game. It was fun, but the game was programmed in BASIC. So being dumb kids that we were, my other high school best friend and I realized the game was in BASIC, and we changed some things around. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And the blitz in the game was called Butt Kiss. Well, what do you think a bunch of 60-year-old kids changed that to? Yeah. That's right. Baseball Demos and Robert, RJL Network, had a nice chat last night discussing inside pitch baseball, as Robert is coming close again to I forget what he's doing for a new season, but his new season starts soon, and he will be on nightly, 7:30, 8 o'clock to get through that. So that game just really, really works well for him. He can make that game sing. So look out for that. All right, VL. off to dinner. Thanks for stopping in. So what else did we? So there was another generic football game. We got 27 plays a quarter, and you could just put in the name of the team, but there wasn't any statistic base there. 2016. Don't watch if you're in Ohio. I later in the 80s, I had the Avalon Hill NBA game. That was fun. That had 20 great teams of all time. That's kind of cool because I got a chance to learn about some baseball. I knew a lot about, had the books, spent a lot of time reading them, and learned the history that way through the Sports Encyclopedia of Baseball, the Neff Cohen books. But basketball really didn't have anything there, and so I did the Avalon Hill game, and I learned a lot about the 69-70 New York Knicks. Them and the 85-86 Celtics were the two teams I played a lot of, and because the game ran on the clock speed of your computer, the games would always run a lot lower scoring if you hand played them than if the computer played them. But they were fun. That was the first basketball game I really enjoyed. And so that was before we got into cards and dice. In college, one of the 18 gazillion reasons why I flunked out was it was Stratapalooza. In college, I played all four of the Strat games. Baseball was the first. The old cards in football, someone had most of the 1980 season in football. So we did a lot with Cleveland and Atlanta and San Diego because those were fun. Cleveland, I believe, had close to the Pruitts, I think, ran for almost 2,000 yards. And San Diego, yeah, even if you guess right what Fouts was going to do, you're going to get burned. Don't remember we played the Rangers all that much, or the Raiders. Hockey, I did a draft league. The year that Brett Hull had 91 goals, I had him and Mario Lemieux on my front line. And Lemieux, on an inside shot, had a goal on a 5. No one could stop it. It was an automatic goal. T-Jet had 2 nice Goodwill book finds. Season Ticket by Roger Angel, always a good read, and the Universal Baseball Association by Coover. Nice. There's some good suggestions on Digital Dice and some of the other groups about what books to read. And I really do think that they enhance the experience. And we've had a couple of good authors. Actually, I got a copy of the 69 Senators book, which I haven't started yet. But we had him on the show. And of course, Dave catching lightning in a bottle with those Cleveland Spiders. Of course, he is the king of bad teams. And there ain't anything as bad as the 1899 Spiders. That is spoiled milk on moldy cereal type icky bad. And it just kind of took on a life of its own. And we had Mr. Hedrick on as the author. And it was so much fun that last game of the season when he got that 23rd win. I mean, where else could you find something that would get just, be cheering because they won their 23rd game out of 154? That was awesome. So RJL's doing 2016. Burgles always wins, by the way. So what else would you guys like to know? And again, I didn't realize I was doing a live chat either. So, but I hadn't done anything this week. Probably won't get the chance to do anything tomorrow. And we're on 5 straight days for baseball at noontime on Twitch. And heading into my vacation, which the wife has a birthday, and then she's off 2 weeks, but I'm only taking off 1. So, what other off the beaten path games do you guys like to play? We talked about some wrestling games. We talked about time travel tennis, top of the stretch horse racing. Have I tried? Yes. Yep, because that was the year I wrote for the Nationals. And Coda Glover was probably, until they got the trade for Doolittle at the deadline, probably should have been Was their best closer Blake Trinan? No. Um, Other pitchers? No. And if Coda Glover hadn't cut his hand in the shower or whatever the heck he did, we thought he should have gotten the job out of spring training. I'm glad Dusty got his World Series. He deserved to get his World Series. But I honestly think if Bryce Harper doesn't slide off of first base against the Giants in August and tears his knee up because he wasn't ready for the playoffs, that's a World Series. That should have been the team that won the World Series. They were that good. The other problem was they clinched the division so early that they really didn't have anything to play for the last 3 weeks of the season. And what do you do in that situation? It's all limbo. Pitcher on the Royals is off to an 0-11 start. Have you seen in my replay where Steve Trashall, I think, is like 1-15 for Tampa? Anthony Young was the last one to lose 20, right? You got to actually be, and I know this sounds kind of corny, but you got to be really good to lose 20 games because it means they have to trust you to get on the hill. Now, AY's numbers weren't great that year. It wasn't like he lost 20 games with an earned run average of 3.5. I mean, we're not talking about 87 Nolan Ryan here, but you got to be able to do something to get there. Around 10 batters will reach 100 Ks by the All-Star break. That's been the norm the last few years. Yeah, it took Yogi Berra 7 full seasons to reach 100 Ks. Wilbur Wood won 20 and lost 20 the same year. Mike Maroth in 2003 lost 20. Phil Niekro in 79 did that. 120, lost 20. I think through about 975 innings and looked about 80 years old by the time that year was done. And in the Great Minds Think Alike portion of the program, P-Jet gets the star. That was not the year that Ted Turner got Andy Messersmith to wear the name Channel on his back. So for Channel 17. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Not a competition here. So yeah, it doesn't, again, on a strat card. In APA, you're just going to be a D. You may not, if you throw strikes, you may not even get a W on the card. Okay, my diversity in this topic is, I guess we're talking about teams that you could play that you hate. The 90s Bulls, so good. And the 2000, yeah, and the Warriors. Although you did beat them one year in the finals. Yeah, Curry's there. You know, went 1-16 in 1993. Wilbur Wood would pitch. How you doing, Michael? Would pitch both games of a doubleheader. Did that once, but you know, if he broke the speed limit, something was wrong. Those were the days. Thank you, PJ. And you know what? His LaSalle did run great. So, yeah. I have Wilbur Wood now on my perfect team. Doesn't pitch all that well. I loved watching Timmy Wakefield pitch. He'd throw the knuckleball, but he didn't have the rubber arm that go with it. I wonder if anyone else would try that now. R.A. Dickey really was the last one to throw the knuckleball and had the rubber arm to go with it. But would you dare do that with a pitcher? I mean, today it's all about you're going to go through the lineup twice and you're just going to throw as hard and trying to, because if you throw it out over the plate, it's just going to get crushed. But would they dare try training a pitcher to throw have the knuckleball be his primary pitch or the knuckle curve? And what would happen? Honestly, I mean, one of the rules at OOTP that you can set up, you can use the 26-man rosters. but you can set how many relievers on a team. And in the fictional league I'm doing, I'm set for 4 relievers. Now, if you were to do something with that and limit how many times a pitcher could be sent up or down, that would be quite interesting. What you could do with only 4 relievers. Do I buy into the Stratomatic Yankee bias? No. No, I don't. I think that Mr. Barkin is a Mets fan to begin with, and he's the one that made the cards. I'm assuming we're talking about the fact that Derek Jeter was a wanted short in a lot of years, that he certainly wouldn't have been a 10 in action PC. The thing with ratings is that they're subjective. So not really. That'd be just like saying that Action PC is kind of cooked the books for Green Bay because they're based out of Wisconsin. Last pitcher to lead the league in both wins and saves. Same season? Or just the pitcher that'd be able to do both? I got 2 names in mind if you're thinking both. When I'm thinking of a Pittsburgh Pirate for that same season, did he pitch for the Pittsburgh Pirates? Do you believe in the Stratomatic Yankee bias, Mr. Dibbles? Did not pitch for the Pirates. Okay. Yeah, it was Roy Face is who I was thinking of. Oh, would it be Hoyt Wilhelm? Yeah, I don't buy into it. There's too many replays that have been done. I mean, the math has been checked on Strat products over and over and over and over again. Cards can run hot, cards can run cold, but I think if you use the proper usage over a full season, the Yankees are not going to be superior in years that they shouldn't be superior. So no, I don't buy that. No, I've heard that suggested about App, but no, it's not Hoyt. Okay, but we're talking about that era, right? I've heard that there was, in the early days of APA, pitchers given A's because of the amount of wins that they got. And it was kind of tough for some of those late 50s, early 60s Yankee teams to get their win total right, because not that Whitey Ford was ever a bad pitcher, but no one was ever going to confuse him with Bob Feller. Haas Radborn. It's actually Roy Oak. So I got to do the scale, right? Yeah, I can't do the 45 degree. Wow. Pace did not lead in wins or saves the year. He went 18-1. All right, so it'd have to be a dead ball thing. It wouldn't be Jack Chesborough, would it? That was what 1941, 41 games. That's a record that will never be topped. Not dead ball, okay? I'm being honest. I honestly don't know who this is. But not a 70s. Spud Chandler pitched for the Yankees. Good pitcher. All right. What else is on your guys' mind tonight? So we're going to do baseball this week, all 5 days. We're going to be past Labor Day, by the way. So when I come back from vacation, we really are in the thick of the race. Lefty Grove, 1930. 28 wins and 9 saves for the Philadelphia Athletics. All right, so we'll give it a couple of minutes. Anything else you guys want to talk about before I sign off? Wouldn't have gotten Lefty Grove. I would have thought dead ball. But then, again, to be pedantic, saves weren't counted in 1930. Yeah, Lamar Hoy got an A for the 83 season in Stratton. How you doing, Mark? With an earned run average of 366. Again. Oh, you're welcome, Andrew. You're welcome. So we'll just give it a couple more minutes. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we say thank you and so long? I'll entertain your questions for another minute or two. Again, I think in the end, especially back in the days in the 50s and 60s before we got computers and spreadsheets and all that, team standings, I think, meant a lot more to a replay. Be curious to see, to talk with someone who played games in that era, what they were looking for accuracy. Which player hit more home runs than the next highest teammate? Well, was it Babe Ruth in 27 who hit more home runs than 4 other American League teams? Gardner and I are going to do a combined broadcast. All right, look at me. Thank you. I know that I'm hideous. You got a face for radio and a body for newspapers. But yeah, we're talking about doing that. I'm not sure what we would do that in yet. We haven't talked about that. Barry Bonds in 01. Steve Tate, who does a lot of the home rules. If you're not a follower of Steve, you really should be. I mean, he's just a guru with that. It is not Babe Ruth, and it is not Barry Bonds. Wayne Gretzky. All right. If this was Trivial Pursuit, the answer would be Wayne Gretzky. What replay of a game or season that you think has been done too many times? That's a good question. Yeah, good one. Single game or season? Well, what I might think is too much, other people might say is not enough. Trying to replicate a no-hitter is almost impossible to do. Wow. That's a good question. Again, yeah, the 75 series has been done a lot. A lot of the late 60s stuff has been done over and over. No, maybe not on YouTube, but over and over and over again. But then again, that seems to be the generation of people who played those games the most. So 67, 69, again, not really in my wheelhouse, but just well, that's one you're never going to see on my channel is the 86 World Series. Super Bowl III, maybe, because of people trying to get the Colts to beat the Jets. The Jets were actually a good team. That would be one I would actually replay. So I guess that's kind of subjective. What replay of a game or a season? There's not one that if someone said I had a really good time doing this that I would go to roll my eyes at, because I think we all want things that people want to watch. Any more guesses for your trivia question? I think in that case, Tim, I think you're just getting into what people really just don't like in general. Good 70s football. Oh, I didn't say that out loud. But again, what I may or may not like isn't necessarily what other people just may love. So I spent that 10 on good money, by the way. I bought a donut with it. 87 opening day for Bob Stanley. It was overdone when he did it. You knew that it was bad when my mother let me drop a couple of F-bombs at 14 or 15 at that game. Listening to that on the radio. Took the day off from school, too. Absolutely. So, I think the answer, Tim, is whatever era you hate most. It's probably what's been overdone the most because it's going to annoy you when you see it. All right. Anyone got any more guesses for Pete yet or any other questions? I know, Tribe fan, that 16 is a good season. But I decided a couple years ago to only do one of my, to do a season out of my wheelhouse, which is 77 and 93. And then do one of those and then do one that's kind of off the beaten path. We did 49 and we're doing obviously 2001. Next year we're doing 88. But yes, I think that era is probably the most done that you see on YouTube. But then again, that's all of our age ranges. You're younger than I am. I'm 51, and I turned 14 in 85 for the 86 season. So 86, 87, 88 would be on the younger end of that. I'm 14, and that's my favorite year thing. Going back to probably, Bernie turned 14 in 66. So in that 20-year stretch, that's going to be what most people play because that's right in everyone's wheelhouse. What's the answer, PJ? So we can go. But yeah, I would think that. Then again, if you enjoy playing it, it's not overdone. I guess would be the answer to that. And we will talk about why you play your favorite seasons, if not tomorrow night, early next week on Digital Dice. So Sammy Sosa in 1998 hit 49 more homers than Mark Grace. And Mark Grace's steroid of choice was cigarettes, right? All right. I think an hour and 7 minutes is about enough of that. So thank you so much for watching. Ha ha ha. Surprise live chat indeed. And we'll talk to you soon. We'll talk to you at least Monday for baseball over on Twitch. I forgot what I'm playing, but it's 5 games, at least 5 games this week, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. Till then, I'm Ron Chuck, and thank you so much for watching. As always, 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 we'll talk to you the next time. Have a good night, everybody.